Chapter 401 cut off. And just as the duoji finished speaking, the opposite Miduzi. It has exploded suddenly. At a speed that meet eyes are almost impossible to look directly at. He came to the front of Duji in an instant. Raise your right foot suddenly. He kicked in the other party's head again. Damn it, a terrible fish, don't you attack other than kicking. A look of anger and contempt appeared on Duji's face. Then he waved a ribbon. The leg that kicked Miduzi directly. Cut off instantly. Puff. Blood splattered out. Just the moment when Nezuko was stunned. The fallen girl has already launched a new round of offensive. A ribbon as sharp as a sword. He slashed straight towards the position of her waist. Puff. Miduzi had to give up the attack. Arm lift to block. But the sharp broken belt, but she directly put her arm again. Cut off instantly. Even her waist was not spared. The whole person flew backwards directly. He smashed heavily into the house below. It arouses smoke and dust to the sky. Tisk 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 tisk. The body and thighs have been cut off. You probably didn't eat well, stinky little guy. A look of smugness and contempt appeared on the face of Duji. Leaping. Jumped from the roof to the ground. Then, slowly walked towards the ruins that Nezuko fell. He said while walking. Although I don't know why garbage like you can escape from the domination of that adult. But just relying on your behavior of helping humans and that ghost-killing team is damn it. As a ghost, you should be loyal to that adult. Eat people well and don't end up like you are now, unruly. It's really pitiful. I guess your body can't move anymore, right? As I hit my blow just now, your body was cut in half by me, right? So I advise you not to move around now, so that the recovery speed may be faster. After all, a guy like you who has half a bucket of water can't recover such a serious injury in a short period of time. But after all, everyone is ghost, so I won't continue to make things difficult for you. I'm going to lock you in the ribbon directly, and then I'll put you in the sun until dawn. That kind of scene, just thinking about it now makes 0.3 people feel interesting. After all, the mutual killing between ghost and ghost is just a waste of time in the final analysis. However, just as the duoji was ridiculed with smug face, Mid-Beans in the ruins opposite. He actually stood up again. Although her left arm, not fully recovered. Chapter 402 completely ghosted. Blood was still flowing out. But her body. Other parts have long been restored as before. What is this possible? The legs have been regenerated. Not only legs, why can she stand up? I've just cut off her body. I have a touch, it must have cut off. After seeing this scene, the fallen girl was stunned. She couldn't believe it. The opposite side was the weak ghost who had just been ridiculed by her. Not only did the feet regenerate, even the body that had just been cut off by her. In such a short time. Then it is regenerated. 26 such a self-healing speed. It's just like winding. But this is absolutely impossible. Ghost dance. It is obvious that only 6 of the winding ghosts were created. This little devil in front of you. How could it be able to have a recovery speed comparable to winding ghost? What the hell is going on? However, just as Duji was confused, Miduzi stood up again from the ruins opposite. A new change has occurred. I saw around her eyes. It was already covered with hideous blood marks. On her right forehead, a bone horn that looked like a demon actually grew directly. In front of the moon, on the arms, and on the legs. All of them appeared red leaves-like patterns. Looks like. It's like some very special tattoo. At the same time, Miduzi also spit out the bamboo tube in her mouth that symbolized binding and reason. And her body. He also entered a state of complete ghostization. At this time, Nezuko's body. A sudden burst of powerful oppression. Even the fallen girl on the opposite side. I was also feeling a little scared. Swish. No nonsense. Mi-do-Z, who was standing opposite, was at the moment when she was completely ghosted. His figure flashed. He actually raised his right foot again. Kicked at the head of the opposite Fuji. It's another kick, you really don't have a memory. A disdainful sneer appeared on Duji's face. Then he waved a ribbon. He directly cut off the leg that Nezuko kicked off. Blood splattered everywhere. However, just as Duoji mocked the other person in his heart. After all, this little girl is really a fool. It's actually 943 stunned. Persevere in using the same trick. You must know. For the ghost of the winding string. But it's useless at all. Next. Just let me cut off your neck with a ribbon. I want to see it. This time. How long does it take for you? Only then can you recover as before. Only. Just as the fallen girl is full of confidence. When I was about to use a ribbon to cut off Miduzi's neck. The opponent's attack. It actually penetrated her defense. Without warning. He appeared directly in front of the Duji. Chapter 403 Crush. Boom. Mi-do-Z actually kicked the whole person directly. Heavy bombarded under the ground. The earth shook loudly. The body of the fallen girl. A huge deep pit was smashed directly on the ground. The whole back. He was even more tragic as if he was trampled. What's going on? Why did her feet be cut off by me just now, but why did her attack hit me? Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How could her legs regenerate in an instant? If she really has this kind of regeneration power, then her strength is definitely above me. Just as the Duoji felt panicked. Miduzi was stepping on her back with her feet. A wicked and bloodthirsty smile appeared on his face. It seemed that she enjoyed the feeling of killing very much. It's completely different from the previous ones. And with every verb and scream of Duji on Miduzi's face, they will show a look of excitement. Get out of here quickly, stinky little guy. I'm going to cut you into pieces, then put you in a ribbon, and burn you to pieces under the scorching sun. The tortured Duoji seemed to be completely angry. An unprecedented powerful force burst out. Sharp ribbon. Like a sharp blade. Instantly, Midoko's head and limbs opposite him. Cut them all. Puff. 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 Blood splattered. Miduzi's limbs and head. Although it was successfully cut off by the ribbon of the fallen girl. However, the smile on the face of the fallen girl. It's still time to bloom. Then he instantly stiffened there. Because she was shocked to find out at this time. Her ribbon. They were all blocked. And the one who blocked her from breaking her belt. But it was Miduzi's limbs that he had just cut off. Observe the broken limbs carefully. You will find out. They are not really cut off completely. Instead, blood continues to be fixed. As if invisible. There are thin threads. Still connecting them. Let them continue to play their role. And that's not all. Call. Mi-do-Z's virus technique exploded. It was actually on the body of the fallen girl. A scarlet flame burned. Ah! The fallen girl who was splashed by Mi-do-Z's blood. A raging fire suddenly broke out all over his body. And this flame. With her ability to heal. All of them cannot complete self-healing in a short period of time. And it seems to be out of control at all. It began to rage wildly. Just like magma. It cannot be extinguished at all. And at the same time, Miduzi, whose limbs and head were cut off from the opposite body. All of them returned to their original appearance. Chapter 404 Stop her. The wound that was just broken. In the blink of an eye. Then he returned to the same as before. It seemed as if she had never broken. It actually ended with the slightest wound. None of them remained. Bang. Bang bang. Bang bang bang. Mi-do-Z kicked Duji several times in the head. Then he kicked. Then she directly knocked her out. The body of Duoji flew backwards in an instant. Then, heavily smashed into the ruins in the distance. And just think Mi-do-Z is ready to rush over. A strange fragrance caught her attention. 380. Blood. That's right. It's human blood. Miduzi, who has been completely ghosted at this moment. I can no longer bear the thirst in my heart, hope. He flew forward with one step. Then he rushed towards a female geisha with bleeding arms not far away. And just at this moment when the whole trip was equal. A figure. But he ran over from behind. Then use the hydroop knife scabbard in your hand. It directly blocked Miduzi's sharp teeth. Miduzi, stop it quickly. Please resist the urge to eat people. Stop it quickly, Miduzi. Tanjiro Zaoman kept calling out to his sister. In an attempt to do this, reawaken the other party. He shed tears. He felt distressed. He locked Miduzi tightly to calm him down. However, Miduzi, who had entered a violent state at this moment. He had long been trapped in a bloodthirsty state of killing. She began to struggle desperately. I'm sorry, Miduzi, I shouldn't have let you fight, sorry. Tanjiro Zaoman apologized in pain. In the air. It was all filled with the smell of blood from the beans. Even before. Tanjiro Zaoman did not see the other party fighting. But it can also be guessed at this time. Miduzi was in the time when he fainted. How seriously hurt. So. As the elder brother Tanjiro. Only then will you feel extremely sad. Miduzi, you must be in pain, you must be very uncomfortable, right? I'm sorry, but it's okay anymore. Brother will not let anyone hurt you. Miduzi, go to bed, hurry up and go to bed, use sleep to return to what he was like before. In order not to let my sister go. Become an inhuman ghost. Tanjiro Zaoman was enduring the severe pain on his body. Try your best. It is preventing Miduzi from becoming a ghost. However, Miduzi seemed to have forgotten his brother's existence. After being controlled by Tanjiro Takaman from behind, the body suddenly jumped into the house. Then it rebounded upward and rose high. With the force of smashing through the wall. Force Tanjiro, the sauceman behind him, to let go. Chapter 405 Special Blood Ghost Technique. And at this time, misfortune never comes alone. The fallen girl who was just smashed into the ruins. He also came out again at this moment. Looking at the two people who were in chaos. The Duoji said with a ferocious face. Hey, I'll say stinky guy, see what you're doing. So you can also use vampire technique but yours will only make ghost the burning virus technique is really unhappy. Quote. And this injury is still difficult to heal. It's so annoying that it makes me feel very angry. I'm going to tear all of you two hateful guys apart. With the fallen girl returning to the battlefield. Tanjiro Zaoman was immediately shocked and sweated coldly. Miduzi right now. He has fallen into an inexplicable violent state. It's impossible to think normally. And if you want to control Miduzi, then there is no way to fight against the opposite Fuji. And even if he can fight the opponent with no time, I believe that if I don't enter the breathing method of Divine God of Fire, there is no chance of winning at all. The dead end seems to be happening again. In this scene, all of them were seen by Hawkeye and Zoro, who were standing at the top of the tall building in the distance. Mr. Mihawk is going to help that little devil. Zoro pinched his chin. He said with a smile on his face. He seems to be dying. The people who don't need them have arrived. Hawkeye replied lightly. Almost as his words fell. Just as the Duoji launched a new round of offensive against Tanjiro, the sauceman. At this critical moment. As soon as the familiar figure comes. But suddenly appeared between the two of them. The ribbon that comes to you. Cut them all. Hey, Tanjiro, isn't this Yadoko? She looks like this now, but the degree of ghostization has become more gorgeously deepened. 0. Umi Tianyuan stared at Midoko, who was controlled by Tanjiro, the sauceman. His eyes were full of shock and surprise. Then he pointed at Tanjiro Kaoru and scolded. Bastard, you've been boasting that you once praised such a big haiku in front of the leader. As a result, there was such an embarrassed posture as today. Who told you to make her accelerate gorgeously and turn into a ghost? 00. Hey, I said, "Kid from the stove, do you need me to help you solve your sister?" "Hey, bastard, Lord Yume, don't joke like this with me so casually. I'll be serious." Tanjiro Zaoman then shouted loudly with panic and dissatisfied face. However, just as Yuxi Tianyuan was about to speak again, the fallen girl behind her, he had already come to the front of the three of them. Looking at Yuxi Tianyuan's back, he spoke excitedly. "Ah, it turns out it was Zhu who came to the door from there on his own initiative." Chapter 406 Rocking Blue Song. It's good that this saves me the trouble of taking the initiative to find you. You are so annoying, I don't have time to talk to you now, get out. Yuxi Tianyuan is very arrogant, he said without looking back. Then, he slowly turned his head. Looking at the fallen girl opposite, he said coldly, "You shouldn't be the winding ghost, right? Because your strength is so weak. The ghost I'm looking for is definitely not you." As the words fell, I saw the Fulguji who had just stepped forward. The head has already landed. Yuxi Tianyuan was not aware of it at all. Put her head directly. Killed down. There is a huge gap in strength between the two. It's simply self-evident. What? It actually cuts and cuts off. The head of that winding ghost was actually cut off by Mr. Yuxi. But Mr. Yuxi, when did you take action? I didn't see it at all. It's so amazing. I didn't even catch the trajectory at all. Tanjiro Kaoru saw this. He was shocked immediately. His eyes were filled with incredible expressions. Just when Yuxi Tianyuan came to him, he didn't see any signs of the other party's attack. But the head of the winding ghost opposite. But he was directly cut off. Is this the real strength of Yinju? It's so powerful that it's incredibly powerful. Even if the purgatory apricot is compared with him, it's also a little bit inferior. However, Yuxi Tianyuan opposite him flattered him. But I don't appreciate it at all, he said to Tanjiro Kaoru with a cold face. The battle is not over yet. Let your sister settle down quickly, otherwise I have to take action to help you take care of her. Kid from the stove, you have to know that there is no need for a stupid little guy who can only shout and cry on the battlefield. Sing her a lullaby honestly. What you have to do now is to cure her. If she really hurts someone, don't forget the promise she made in front of the leader. Although Yuxi Tianyuan is now already accepted Tanjiro Kaoru and his sister Midoko, who is Ghost. But it does not mean he would watch Miduzi take action to hurt people. So, if the other party is really in the state of ghostization, if you take action, hurt someone, even if Tanjiro of the Sauceman is blocked, Yuxi Tianyuan will also directly kill him by 0.7. Lullaby. Yuxi Tianyuan's words. It was like waking up Tanjiro from the Sauceman. While holding down midbeam, he began to be by the other person's ears. Sing gently. The nursery rhyme their mother sang for them when she was a child. Gentle music. Then it sounded. Chapter 407 Not Dead Yet. That familiar melody. It really made Miduzi in a state of explosion. I recalled the figure of my mother. Tears couldn't stop slid from the corners of her eyes. This girl who was still in a violent state just now. Bone corner on the forehead. Finally successfully retreated. And before the moon in Hungary. And red leaf-shaped tattoos on the limbs. It gradually disappeared. Miduzi regained consciousness. Finally, the body gradually shrank. It turned out to be a peaceful little baby. On the ground. Curled up 26. It seems like this posture. It's her mother. With that warm embrace. She was sleeping while holding him. Seeing this, Tanjiro Kaoru saw this. Can't help but feel affection. 2 lines of tears also shed in his eyes. Really? Only the power of family. Only then can I stop myself from being a completely ghosted sister. It is the power of mother and family. At the most critical moment. Played the most critical role. However, when Yuxi Tianyuan carried the 2 swords. When you were ready to go out. But he was suddenly stopped by the Duoji who was holding his head in the opposite direction. Hey, you bastard, wait for me, where do you want to go? I dare to cut off my head, I will definitely not let you go. Hey, why can you still scream there? Yuxi Tianyuan saw this. A look of doubt suddenly appeared on his face. Staring at the Soul Ji, he said. I have no interest in a weak guy like you, so there is no longer any problem with you here, so I'll be so cheesy. You bastard, what are you kidding there? The fallen girl holding her head with both hands. But he roared in anger. And you dared to say just now that I was not winding, but I am a dignified winding land. I haven't lost yet because I'm a winding bastard. However, facing the ridicule of the fallen goddess, Yuxi Tianyuan shook his head coldly and said, how could a guy as weak as you be winding? You weren't that. If you really are winding, then why is your neck cut off? This is too weak. Is there a 710 water in your mind? No matter how you look at it, a weak guy like you will not be winding. Bastard, I'm really strong yet. The fallen girl seemed to have been greatly insulted. He roared in anger. Although I'm still just winding land now, I will definitely become stronger in the future. You bastard, I'm really winding land. I got this number from that adult. Yes, I'm obviously very strong. Chapter 408 Another Ghost. As he talked, the fallen girl actually started to cry. Yuxi Tianyuan saw this. He was stunned for a moment. Over the years, he has killed countless ghosts. But like this, he cried loudly. Still the first one. Only. What really puzzled him was that the normal ghost head is cut off. Body and head. It will disintegrate and turn into ashes. But the winding land in front of you. But it has not been ashes until now. Instead, there were endless screams and howling. What the hell is going on? However, the answer will be revealed immediately. The more he cried, the more he felt sad. Then he shouted loudly. My head was cut off. My head was cut off. Brother, why haven't you come out yet? Almost as the Duoji finished speaking. From her back, another figure appeared instantly. What? Yuxi Tianyuan was shocked when he saw this. The two swords in his hand shook. Then it was like a storm. In the direction where the Soji and the figure that emerged. Slash and leave. Only. Abnormal mutation. What surprised Yuxi Tianyuan? He just had the fast and thunderous blow. It turns out, all failed. The shriveled figure that emerged from behind the fallen concubine. In fact, it was extremely fast that the eyes could not catch. Will fall in her head. All moved to another direction. So fast. It's amazing. For my silly sister, it's useless to just cry. It's just a loss of your head, at least you put it back on yourself. Your little brain is really not very useful. On Yuxi Tianyuan's forehead behind, a layer of fine cold sweat gradually emerged. This scene before my eyes. It somewhat subverted his previous perception. Open black lens bracket ghost close black lens bracket head. Being cut down but not dead. Then from her back, another ghost appeared. What's the fucking situation? And the reaction speed of the newly appeared ghost. It's so fast that it can't be compared with it. Even Yuxi Tianyuan. It was also impossible to capture the other party's position movement just now. And it was with someone. Only. Yuxi Tianyuan is not ready to give to the brothers and sisters of the Soji. Too many opportunities to continue reminiscing about the past. Holding a double knife. Then he rushed towards the two of them again. And at this moment, the figure that emerged from behind the fallen goddess. Still comforting his sister. The sound is full of weird said. Look at your face is burned. You are so damn good at taking good care of your face. It's rare that you are born with such a cute face. Chapter 409 Jealousy from the Winding. That familiar melody. It really made M.I.D.Z. in a state of explosion. I recalled the figure of my mother. Tears couldn't stop slid from the corners of her eyes. This girl who was still in a violent state just now. Bone corner on the forehead. Finally successfully retreated. And before the moon in Hungary. And red leaf-shaped tattoos on the limbs. It gradually disappeared. Miduzi regained consciousness. Finally, the body gradually shrank. It turned out to be a peaceful little baby. On the ground. Curled up 26. It seems like this posture. It's her mother. With that warm embrace. She was sleeping while holding him. Seeing this, Tanjiro Kaoru saw this. Can't help but feel affection. 2 lines of tears also shed in his eyes. Really? Only the power of family. Only then can I stop myself from being a completely ghosted sister. It is the power of mother and family. At the most critical moment. Played the most critical role. However. When Yuxi Tianyuan carried the 2 swords. When you were ready to go out. But he was suddenly stopped by the Duoji who was holding his head in the opposite direction. Hey, you bastard, wait for me, where do you want to go? I dare to cut off my head, I will definitely not let you go. Hey, why can you still scream there? Yuxi Tianyuan saw this. A look of doubt suddenly appeared on his face. Staring at the Soul Ji, he said. I have no interest in a weak guy like you, so there is no longer any problem with you here, so I'll be so cheesy. You bastard, what are you kidding there? The fallen girl holding her head with both hands. But he roared in anger. And you dared to say just now that I was not winding, but I am a dignified winding land. I haven't lost yet because I'm a winding bastard. However. Facing the ridicule of the fallen goddess. Yuxi Tianyuan shook his head coldly and said. How could a guy as weak as you be winding? You weren't that. If you really are winding, then why is your neck cut off? This is too weak. Is there a 710 water in your mind? No matter how you look at it, a weak guy like you will not be winding. Bastard, I'm really strong yet. The fallen girl seemed to have been greatly insulted. He roared in anger. Although I'm still just winding land now, I will definitely become stronger in the future. You bastard, I'm really winding land. I got this number from that adult. Yes, I'm obviously very strong. Chapter 410 Debt Collector. That familiar melody. It really made Miduzi in a state of explosion. I recalled the figure of my mother. Tears couldn't stop slid from the corners of her eyes. This girl who was still in a violent state just now. Bone corner on the forehead. Finally successfully retreated. And before the moon in Hungary. And red leaf-shaped tattoos on the limbs. It gradually disappeared. Miduzi regained consciousness. Finally, the body gradually shrank. It turned out to be a peaceful little baby. On the ground. Curled up 26. It seems like this posture. It's her mother. With that warm embrace. She was sleeping while holding him. Seeing this, Tanjiro Kaoru saw this. Can't help but feel affection. 2 lines of tears also shed in his eyes. Really? Only the power of family. Only then can I stop myself from being a completely ghosted sister. It is the power of mother and family. At the most critical moment. Played the most critical role. However. When Yuxi Tianyuan carried the 2 swords. When you were ready to go out. But he was suddenly stopped by the Duoji who was holding his head in the opposite direction. Hey, you bastard, wait for me, where do you want to go? I dare to cut off my head, I will definitely not let you go. Hey, why can you still scream there? Yuxi Tianyuan saw this. A look of doubt suddenly appeared on his face. Staring at the Soul Ji, he said. I have no interest in a weak guy like you, so there is no longer any problem with you here, so I'll be so cheesy. You bastard, what are you kidding there? The fallen girl holding her head with both hands. But he roared in anger. And you dared to say just now that I was not winding, but I am a dignified winding land. I haven't lost yet because I'm a winding bastard. However. Facing the ridicule of the fallen goddess. Yuxi Tianyuan shook his head coldly and said. How could a guy as weak as you be winding? You weren't that. If you really are winding, then why is your neck cut off? This is too weak. Is there a 710 water in your mind? No matter how you look at it, a weak guy like you will not be winding. Bastard, I'm really strong yet. Falji seemed to have been greatly insulted. He roared in anger. Although I'm still just winding land now, I will definitely become stronger in the future. You bastard, I'm really winding land. I got this number from that adult. Yes, I'm obviously very strong. Chapter 411 Critical Strike. However, it was just as the two of them were talking. Yuxi Tianyuan's body. He had already rushed to the front of the two of them. Only. Just as he was about to swing his knife down. The male winding ghost who reappeared, slowly turned his head. With a fierce look. Look at Yuxi Tianyuan. Puff. 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 What is extremely shocking is. Just before Yuxi Tianyuan's two swords fell down. The opponent actually used attack instead of defense. The moment before the tip of the knife touched. Instead, it was on Yuxi Tianyuan's forehead first. 210 left 3 scars. Blood splattered out. Although these 3 wounds are not very serious. But the strong strength shown by the other party. And the speed that even Yuxi Tianyuan could not capture. Still deep. Shocked Yuxi Tianyuan, who is sound pillar. Is this the true strength of winding land? He, I can't tell you are not bad, you have that little ability. I was able to successfully stop the attack and block my attack. I can see that you clearly cut it down with murderous intent, you are really good. This man who emerged from the back of the fallen goddess. Now, he is tilting his head. Holding 2 sharp sickles made of bones. Staring at the opposite Yuxi duct. You are very good. You are actually able to successfully dodge my fatal attack. You are really good looking. The speaker. It is the one who shares the same body with the Fulgami. Her brother, prostitute, Yutsutaro. And the word prostitute. It refers to recruiting customers in Waji Lushang. And collect money. There are also cows. Or Niyutaro's statement. And like the prostitute, the brother of the Fulki. Copy the name of the profession directly. The person who uses his own name. In fact, it is not just the prostitute Taro. And in his mind. Those scattered and residual human memories. After hundreds of years of turning him into a ghost. Still using it. This was once a human name. Your looks really good. The prostitute Taro stared at Yu Tianyuan's handsome face. A look of resentment and jealousy appeared in his eyes. Murmur. The skin is already great. No stains, no marks, no scars. I am also very strong, but I can't get strong at all. You are still very tall, and at least you should be over 1.8 meters tall. A man like you must be very popular with women, right? So jealous, so jealous. Can you please die? And you must use that very uncomfortable way of dying. I'm going to peel off your skin alive, and then cut open your stomach and cut off all the internal organs. Chapter 412 The Flying Blood Side. Even the Yuxi Tianyuan opposite is compared with it. All of them are slightly inferior. This guy seems to be a little stronger than the ghost of the 3 winding strings I killed before on Infinite Train. After Zoro felt it carefully. Said with a try. That's just your illusion. His strength is half as strong as that wind string 3. It's just that when you took over the battle, most of the physical strength of that ghost was consumed by the fire column. The battle here should be left to them to deal with it by themselves for the time being. Hawkeye's face still maintained a usual calmness. He ignored Zoro, who was eager to try. Instead, he responded calmly. So he stopped talking. Zoro did not get a reply. Of course, I can only stay where I am honest. And at the same time. On the street below. 2 figures rushed from afar. It was the rushing visit to Hirai Inosuke. And my wife, Simon Yi, who is still asleep. Inosuke, Zenyi, you 2 go and help Mr. Yume, please. Tanjiro, who was holding Yadoko, saw this. He quickly called out loudly. Don't worry, let me leave all the situation inside. I want to do a gorgeous and beautiful battle. Inosuke Orihira roared. Then he rushed directly into the building where Yuxi Tianyuan and others were. And at this time. On the 2nd floor, prostitute Taro. Looking at Yuxi Tianyuan opposite. Some jealously said. I'm really jealous, you're such a good man. I actually have to protect those unfamiliar humans at such a critical moment. Are I saying you're showing off your looks or you're making a fool? It's really good. Maybe to the two guys behind you, you are their savior. Your actions should be very popular and grateful among humans, right? They should definitely like you, right? That's certainly. After all, I'm a gorgeous and chic handsome man, that's certainly. Umi Tianyuan seemed to be deliberately trying to anger Taro, who was angry with the opponent. A confident smile appeared on his face. He spoke lightly. You definitely can't guess. Even my wife has 3. The air seemed to solidify instantly. After a brief shock, he became furious in an instant. Posing in battle. Protect civilians. All these tolerance will pass. But you really dare to say in person that you have 3 wives. 3. That's a whole 3. Damn it. This man is such a slutty person. Chapter 413 The Chosen One. Let alone 3. Even a prostitute Taro has never had it. How can I bear this? Absolutely can't bear it. Prudo Taro pointed at Yu Tianyuan, who was full of confidence on the other side and shouted. You bastard, what are you kidding with 3 wives? Ah. Open black lens bracket vampire technique katakana middle dot flying blood scythe close black lens bracket. Prostitute Taro randomly puts his blood. Turned into a sharp razor-like thin blade. Like a storm. He shot towards Yuxi Tianyuan opposite. And above these blood 26 blades. Without exception, they are all highly toxic. And after sending the photos, these blood blades will also be based on the will of the prostitute Taro. Change the flight route at will. It can be said that it is hard to defend. He used this method. In those years, he successfully killed several powerful men at the pillar level. Hateful. Yuxi Tianyuan saw this. I immediately made a corresponding judgment in my mind. At present, these blood slashes shaped like thin wings. Not only the number should not be underestimated. And very fast. Even if it is him. There is no way to be in this state. While protecting the 2 humans behind him. While taking action, he blocked all the slashes. So, at present, he can only make corresponding solutions. Yuxi Tianyuan raised the 2 swords in his hand. He actually smashed directly towards the ground. At the same time, he also threw out several special blast pills in his hand. Rumble. Rumble. Under 2 huge explosions. Yuxi Tianyuan and 2 humans. It fell directly from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor. Although the 2 humans were quite frightened. But they successfully avoided the killing attack that Professor Taro had just killed. Damn it, I actually used this method to escape to the 1st floor. Seeing this, the prostitute Taro. A look of anger suddenly appeared on his face. Then he raised his fingers. Said viciously. I will never let you escape. Come back, flying blood scythe. Under the control of the prostitute Taro. Those bloody red blood sickles. He actually returned strangely. Toward the Yuxi Tianyuan below. And 477 the 2 humans who fled in a hurry rushed forward. What's going on? Can he still control the slash? Or the slash will keep flying, and as long as you don't hit the target, it won't stop. Yuxi Tianyuan's eyes suddenly showed an incredible look. But his hands kept waving his swords. Break all the oncoming bloody red slashes. At the same time, he is still in his mind. Quickly judge the current situation. The brother and sister upstairs. Even if my sister cut off her head, she would not die. It feels incredible. Chapter 414 That man is the real choice. But that's right, after all, you have been living in such a ghost place before this. What can you do if you have lived for hundreds of years? It's still like I've never seen the world before. In comparison, this is completely impossible. This world is really big, and those chosen people and those powerful guys can be seen everywhere. There are both unfathomable guys, and there are also guys who can become pillar after just holding a knife for 2 months. Not to mention, there is also the existence of the adult who is powerful enough to feel desperate outside of our 710 world. Even the two swordsmen he sent were not comparable to us pillars. Yuxi Tianyuan's mind. Yi Yu's powerful figure gradually emerged. The opponent's crushing strength. It has won his recognition deeply. And the ghost in front of you. It's superficial to think. He Yuxi Tianyuan is the chosen son of the world. If compared with someone like His Majesty Yi Yu, my Yuxi Tianyuan is nothing. Even if it is not comparable to a peerless strong man like Yi Yu. Even compared to Hawkeye who came from this mission. Although that cold-faced guy. Until now, I have not taken action. But Yuxi Tianyuan can sense it. The other party is very strong. At least stronger than him. So. Taro's words. It fell into Yuxi Tianyuan's ears. It's as funny as a huge joke. I actually said that I was chosen by God. What are you, an unsavvy bastard, joking? Yuxi Tianyuan who feels insulted. He suddenly roared in anger. Do you know how many lives there are? The flow of my fingers has dropped and I have developed my current skills. However. The focus of the prostitute Taro opposite. Like always different from normal humans. After hearing Yuxi Tianyuan's inspiring and indignant rebuttal. Not only did he ignore the other person's words. Instead, he continued to ask stubbornly. Then how do you explain? Why are you not dead yet? You should know that the blood sickle I just released is stained with the poison unique to the ghost type. But after so long, you still haven't died. Ah. You know what's the matter. I was born in the ninja family, so I naturally have resistance to toxins in my body. Yuxi Tianyuan also yelled in anger. Although there is no longer an outdated ninja existence in this world. But our 9 siblings are the last branch of ninjas. When I was 15 years old, 7 of our siblings had already died. Chapter 415 Tianyuan State. My father is anxious about this. It seems like we have lost our soul, and we are forced to undergo extremely strict training like a demon. And in such rigorous training, only my younger brother, who is 2 years younger than me, finally survived successfully. And my brother, like the same mold as my father, has the same way of thinking and the same behavior. In their eyes, subordinates are just chess pieces, and their wives are just tools to exist to produce their heirs. After completing their obligations, it doesn't matter even if they die. They don't care about the other people's wishes at all. They are all cold-blooded, like a machine without emotions. But I don't want to be someone like them. Until one day, I finally met the words of Lord, which directly subverted all the concepts I had been instilled since childhood. And my values. Lord, has opened up my long-standing knot and given me new motivation, as well as my mission and goals to the future. So from that day on, I began to move forward optimistically and fight to protect humanity. For this reason, even if I bet on my life, I will not refuse. Hey, why are you talking to me all the time? On the face of the prostitute Taro. It seemed to show a look of impotentness. It seems that he is just about Yuxi Tianyuan's childhood experience. Not interested in general. Instead, he pointed his hand at the other person's face. He said with a gloomy smile. But you just said that, I'm reminding me. Sure enough, you're still poisoned. The toxins are taking effect slowly. What's ridiculous is that you are still bluffing and saying nothing without using such a bad word, which is simply a shameful person. When Yuxi Tianyuan directly inserted the 2 swords in his hand to the ground when he heard this. Then he retorted with great energy. Hey, you are the one I want to make the mistake. 0. Your self-righteous toxins have no effect on me at all. Do I want to dance now to show you 2 trash? Yuxi Tianyuan showed a strong fighting spirit on his face. Then lift the 2 swords. Make an attacking gesture. He smiled and said. My condition is very good now. Believe it or not, I can still be very gorgeous even if I put 100 bowls of tempura rice in front of me. I can eat them all. So what you said is very poisoning. What exactly is it? Chapter 416 was poisoned. As the words fell, The double swords in Yuxi Tianyuan's hand, like two sharp phantoms, suddenly heading towards Taro, the prostitute. The two of them, and the Fulgami who was squatting on his back, galloped and chopped. But in fact, what Prudo Taro said before is correct. From the beginning, they're brothers. He steadily gained an absolute advantage. The two bone blades that cut Yuji Tianyuan's forehead, the above are actually highly poisonous. And during this period, Prudo Taro has been waiting patiently. Waiting for the toxins to invade the internal organs of Yuxi Tianyuan. Then, he gave the other party another fatal blow. But his wishful thinking turned into a dreamy cannon shadow over time. Yuxi Tianyuan's ability to resist toxins. It was beyond the expectations of the prostitute Taro. Now the other party takes the initiative to attack. It also exceeded his expectations. The fallen girl immediately waved a ribbon with a strength comparable to steel. Investitures attacking Yuxi Tianyuan on the opposite side. And the bone blade in the hands of the prostitute Taro. There were also sharp sounds of wind breaking out in the air. Two rider knives that faced Yuxi Tianyuan. Bang bang bang. Boom 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 boom. In just a few breaths, the three of them fought back and forth for dozens of rounds. Yuxi Tianyuan's unique physical skills. It can be said to be extremely powerful. The attack of the fallen girl. In front of him. It seems useless at all. Soon. Then he was kicked away by Yuxi Tianyuan. And the ribbon she swung. Also under Yuxi Tianyuan's sharp, rider knife. All the numbers of the ashes were cut off. Only the bone blade in the hands of the prostitute Taro. But it has a very fast speed that is far beyond ordinary people. This is true. This has caused a lot of trouble to Yuxi Tianyuan. Bastard, don't kick my sister. Seeing that his sister Duji was kicked out with one kick, Taro, the prostitute, suddenly became furious. Bone blade in hand, like two phantoms, slashed down sharply. And the fallen Ji who flew backwards in the air was not to be outdone. While flying backwards, controlling the sharp ribbon, from the rear, he attacked at the back of Yuxi Tianyuan's head at a rapid speed. Swish 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 swish. At this critical moment, Yuxi Tianyuan took out several special small bombs from his arms. Towards the oncoming fallen girl. And the prostitute Taro. Throw out with all his strength. Rumble. A violent explosion. In an instant, the figures of Fulheim and Proud Taro were submerged. This kind of Fire 1.9 ammunition used by Yuxi Tianyuan. It is made through special craftsmanship. It has a huge power that can damage the body of Ghost. Once you rely on slash or other minor frictional contact, you can directly contact the hair. Blasting. The opposite side, the Duohito and the Prudo Taro, who were not aware of this situation. Then all of them were hit. Chapter 417 Zoro is a little drifty. In a violent explosion, he was directly bombarded from afar. But Yuxi Tianyuan's attack. But he didn't give up. The two Hydroop knife are connected by the steel chain in the hand and rotate at a very fast speed. The moment when the weaker Duoji didn't come back to his senses. Then she cut her head off again. At the same time, the Hydroop knife in the hand rotates rapidly. Swipe it out violently. He attacked Taro, who was in a farther direction. Only the distance between two people. Obviously not enough to let his attack hit the opponent. 26. However, just when the prostitute Taro's face just showed a slack expression. But he was shocked to find he could not reach his Hydroop knife. It suddenly stretched out another inch. If it weren't for him at the last critical moment. He lowered his head and dodged the attack. I guess now. The neck was cut off by the other party directly. The strength of this pillar in front of you. It is obviously far ahead of him before this. Those pillars I have encountered. Due to the explosion. 4 walls on the room. All of them were blown out several big holes. This made Hawkeye and Zoro standing in the distant high building. You can also see that there is a fight in the room. What a strong grip, that guy just pinched the tip of the knife and used such a strong slash. After Zoro saw clearly the attack that Yuxi Tianyuan had just used, a look of surprise suddenly appeared on his face. Original. After passing the infinite train stop, he did not take these pillars of the demon-killing team seriously. Or, he felt that under his full strength, even when facing these ghost-killing team, the top strength pillars, there will also be at least nearly 70% of the victory. However, after seeing this blow from Yuxi Tianyuan, this thought in Zoro's mind, it began to shake. Among the pillar-level strong men in ghost-killing team, there are still some. The strength is enough to surpass his existence. The opposite Yuxi Tianyuan. Perhaps it is one of them. If Zoro confronts him head-on, the winning rate will basically be around 55. So His Majesty Yu had warned us not to underestimate the people in this world and those winding ghosts before we set out on our mission. Although their physique is relatively weaker than ours, but the combat skills they have honed through their special breathing method also have something that is worthy of our appreciation. Hawkeye said with an extremely calm expression. And just as the two of them talked, the battle between Yume Tianyuan and the prostitute Tailong in the room. But it still continues. After one blow is not done, Yuxi Tianyuan then rotates again, daily wheel knife. Continue to attack the opposite prostitute Taro. Only. At this moment, the shrill scream of Duji came not far away. Chapter 418. All members are here. Woo. Damn it, my neck was cut off again. That bastard is absolutely unforgivable. I'm so unwilling to accept it, I'm really unwilling to accept it. Why do I always get my neck cut off every time? Brother, you want to avenge me and kill him quickly. The fallen girl held her head pressed back on his neck. However, the prostitute Taro, opposite. But it seems to have noticed something. There was no rush to counterattack. But the expression gradually became solemn. Staring at the opposite Yuxi ducked. I didn't expect you to discover that secret so soon. I guess the blow you just now was intentional, that is to say, you discovered the biggest secret hidden between us, brother and sister. But even if I tell you everything now, it will be useless. You will die slowly soon. Maybe you haven't realized that even if we do nothing now, we are turning the situation around a little bit. However, before Yuxi Tianyuan can speak, outside the room, then two sounds came. Hey, bastard, this is hard to say. Don't forget me, and I, Lord Inosuke and my younger brother, have not officially appeared. Inosuke Orihira set his appearance. It seems like I want to use this gorgeous way. Shock the two ghosts' close black lens bracket. However, just as the three of them were surprised, another figure, but from the roof of the second floor, he jumped in, standing directly in front of Yuxi Tianyuan. Surely it is Tanjiro, who had just recovered some strength. For him, today's battle, no matter what, he must not give up easily. Hey, even if a few unknown pawns come, there will be no happy future. The sudden change in the number of people. For the prostitute Taro. Obviously I don't care much. For Tanjiro. And Inosuke Tohira. And I, Ji Shanyi and the other two, join. His face was completely disregarded. For these three little devils. The power radiates from the body. It's so weak that he's dying. In his eyes. Even existences that can be directly ignored. So he looked disdainful. Toward the opposite Yuxi. I advise you not to look very energetic, because soon you, the weak guys, will all die here. Ants like Tanjiro, the sauceman. You can kill as much as you want. Don't care at all. However, facing the provocation and ignorance of the prostitute Taro. But Tanjiro Zaoman has not yet digested the situation in front of him. Chapter 419. They are all excellent. Why did that ghost suddenly appear in the room, and the female ghost whose head was cut off, why didn't she die just now? The male ghost opposite also said Wind String Land. In his eyes, could it be said that both of them were Wind String Land? Or it is the virginity technique of the Fulver girl. Does it have the ability to split? But if it is split, then there is no doubt that the original body should be the man. 507 inches. The smell on his body is very different, it is very heavy, just smell it away from a distance, and the deep part of his throat is as painful as if he is paralyzed. And Tanjiro Kaoru also discovered that. His hands. He trembled slightly again. I don't know if it's because I'm too tired. Or is it caused by fear? Just when Tanjiro Zaoman felt hesitant, Yuxi Tianyuan behind him. But he suddenly spoke. Stop looking down on people there. Our ghost killing team will definitely be the final winner. I think you should say less, right? As Pillar, you are already poisoned. What are you still saying to me? Duoji reached out and put her head back on her neck. He shouted angrily at Yuxi Tianyuan opposite him. However, Yuxi Tianyuan was not angry. Instead, there was a smile of insignificance on his face. Lin said, "Hey, you bastard soldier who can be defeated by me in just a few tricks is just going to get poisoned first, and it's just right for you to let water. This kind of injury is nothing. I warn you two guys not to underestimate humans too much. These three people are all my best stepsons. They are all very strong and will never escape. Even if you face the winding ghost, even if you are crushed to pieces, you will be bitten firmly and unwilling to let go. And I've actually seen through it, how to defeat you. Just cut off your necks at the same time, you should be able to end you. That's it, right? If it weren't for this reason, why would you share your abilities with two people? There is no reason to be with that weak sister. Ha 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 ha. Taking the last ranked winding ghost like you is simply so simple." In the room at this moment. Whether it is Tanjiro. It's still the prostitute Taro, opposite him. And the fallen girl squatting on his back. They were all shocked by Yuxi Tianyuan's passionate and generous words. Only Viagra Inosuke. A man became inexplicably excited. Wow, that's it. Killing you two is a piece of cake. Chapter 420 The Terminator of Pillar. We are no different from winning now. After a brief shock. On the face of the prostitute Taro. Recovered the resentful and proud look before. Twist your head. Staring at the opposite Yuxi ducked. Hey, you don't seem to understand something. It is obvious that because such a simple thing cannot be done, the members of the ghost-killing team will die one after another in my hands. Even a strong man at the pillar level is no exception. In the past few hundred years, I have successfully killed 15 pillars and my sister has also successfully killed 7. But all these pillars were eaten by our two siblings. The more Taro said the prostitute, the more proud he became. That's right, you guys, it shouldn't be said that no one who meets the two of us will live to dawn. I have a brother to give me courage. The Duoji immediately became arrogant. There was also a fearless expression on his face. He shouted. The long night will always be our ghost helper. So you damn bastards, all of you, go to die for me. Swish 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 swish. As the words fell. The fallen girl has already controlled several ribbons. Toward the opposite Kawaman Tanjiro. And Yuxi Tianyuan and others launched a fierce attack. What she hates the most. These are these two people. Bang bang bang. Before Yuxi Tianyuan and others could take action. A figure as fast as lightning. The ribbons that have been attacking several people one after another. All blocked. Then he quickly turned back to his original position. One blow knocked the Solji out of the room. The one who takes action. It was my wife, Son Yi, who was in a state of sleep. And at this time. He also rushed towards the Soji outside with 2 swords in his hand. This earthworm girl, let me and the sleepy pills be left to you and you can kill that mantis quickly. Do you understand? You guys are careful too. Tanjiro Kaoru quickly spoke out to remind him. Damn little bastards, I will never let you cut off my sister's head again. On the face of the prostitute Taro. A very resentful look appeared. However. Under the repeated attacks of my wife, Shani. I had to retreat one after another. He quickly jumped onto the roof. With the bright moonlight. When the fallen girl saw the appearance of the person opposite, the expression on the face, it suddenly became more and more ferocious. It's you, you're the guy who was in the store before, who was in the way of me. Yes. Although I fell into sleep. But even so, my wife, Sissy, seems to have the memories she has experienced before. I have not forgotten the crimes committed by the fallen girl. Chapter 421, 3 Eyes Open. Before the formal operation, I have something to tell you. My wife, Simon Yi, said in a very cold tone. Apologize to the child who was hurt by your ears. Even if you use the money you earn to provide them with food, clothing, housing and transportation, which will give them temporary protection of their lives, they are definitely not your own property. You have no right to do anything you can do to them. Bastard, stop talking about these boring preachings here. The fallen girl heard this. Suddenly, he became furious. Said viciously. You don't think that you are qualified to have an equal conversation with me just because of an ugly monster like you. Don't you understand yet? Women on this kind of flower street are actually goods and items. It is a toy for men, and it is no different from a product, whether it is buying, selling, or destroying it, it all depends on the mood of the holder. The master can do anything to them. An ugly monster like you or a guy who doesn't even have the qualifications to eat. Of course, people who are not capable will not be regarded as human beings. However, although my wife Shani knew it clearly in her heart, what the Fulgami said, it is the truest fact in this world. But he was extremely stubborn. Stick to what I said before. You can't just do something you don't like to you, and then use the same method to deal with others. It's wrong to do this. It seems that what you said is wrong. A look of anger and smile appeared on the face of Duji. Then on the forehead. He actually opened an eye with the word, Lu, again. 3 eyes together. Staring at my wife Shani opposite. Said viciously. Aren't the laws of this world being done by people who hate or painful things, they have to pay back the rules for tooth. How many years of misfortune you have suffered, you must make up for it in the same way from the happy people. Otherwise, we can't understand this. This is our way of survival. And we have killed all the guys who dare to comment on us in this long period of time. Do you understand now? The same statement. And the same tone. At this moment, 2.2 was repeated in the mouth of the prostitute Taro in the room. The same is true for you too. Just wait for me to tear your throat open. The murderous aura on the prostitute Tailong exploded with a bang. As thick as you come. Let Tanjiro, the opposite stove. Breathing became difficult. Even Jippy Gata. They all come directly from the elbow to the neck. Chapter 422 The Real Gemini Ghost. But this is normal. After all. The other party is Winding Land. And it's among these two ghosts. The one with the most powerful. And now. But Tanjiro Zaoman cannot take a step back. Because. Yuxi Tianyuan behind him. Already caught ghostly. Tanjiro, now. I have an obligation to protect this powerful man. However. Just in Kawaman Tanjiro fantasized in his mind. The prostitute Tailong swung his knife the moment he acted on the opposite side. Then find the right time. When cutting off the other person's neck. The prostitute opposite is two wolf. 26 The figure has turned into a phantom. In the blink of an eye, he appeared directly in front of Tanjiro Zaoman. Taro, whore, proved it with his actions. What is the strength of winding? You clearly know that I want to swing the knife. But your body. But he didn't react at all. That's exactly what it is now. The sharp bone sickle in the hands of the prostitute Taro. It has been from bottom to top. He stabbed Tanjiro Zaoman's throat hard. The whole thing the journey is as fast as lightning. Tanjiro, who was opposite, was unable to react at all. Even the trajectory of the other party's sword swing. It's impossible to see clearly. But fortunately. At the critical moment. A big hand behind. Just pick up the collar of the stove door Charcolo. Throw him backwards. Then Umi Tenyuan and prostitute Taro. Like thunder. Fierce collisions were held together. Bang bang bang. Boom 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 boom. Just as the two of them were fighting quickly. The fallen girl on the roof. Under the siege of Inosuke and my wife Simono. Finally, her new form was unfolded. After the third eye appears. Whether she is in strength. It's still about capturing speed. All reached a whole new height. Even though my wife, Shani, used the thunder breath, is extremely fast. But under her three eyes. It is also gradually at a disadvantage. Only. This eye is half the perception ability that Fullhiki can get from her brother Proud Taro. Because the prostitute Taro is afraid of his weak sister. His head was cut off again. Ha 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 ha, I can see all your actions clearly. Because my brother woke up, my strength can be fully released. 130 This is my real strength. More than a dozen ribbons behind the fallen girl flew in the air again. Colorful ribbons. As hard as steel. At the same time, it is as sharp as a sword blade. After a few rounds. The opposite side of Viagra Inosuke and my wife Simone. It was already covered with scars and blood. The situation of the entire battle. Suddenly, he took a sharp turn at this moment. Because at this moment, the two brothers of the prostitute, Taro. It is the true meaning of Gemini Ghost. Chapter 423 The chaos of war escalates. And at this time the prostitute in the house is too wolf. It's also full of fun. Staring at the opposite Yuxi duct. Hey, what you said just now, if they are stepsons, they should be lying, right? Your behavior is irregular and you have no cooperation at all, so it's too bad. If this is the case, then my fun will be much less. The chaos in the house. And the rooftops are in chaos. It's still going on. The prostitute Taro kept launching crazy attacks. At the same time, it also releases a highly poisonous blood blade from time to time. And the fallen girl on the roof. More than 10 ribbons are used. Form a huge vortex like a blade. He trapped Inosuke and my wife Simono. And the most dangerous thing is the attack between the two men of Fulka and the proud Taro. Interconnection between up and down. Roof ribbon. From time to time it will come from above. Caught out through the roof. Go straight to Umi Tianyuan and Tanjiro Zaoman. It's hard to defend. It directly disrupted Yuxi Tianyuan's battle rhythm. And the speed of the prostitute Taro. It's so fast that it's hard to capture. What's more dangerous is that the blood blade released by Profuta Taro. It will also be from an unknown angle. Suddenly it soared into the sky. The offensive and defensive situation of Inosuke and my wife Simone who were fighting on the roof were disrupted. Rumble. Rumble. Under the fierce attacks of the brother and sister. The whole building. It actually began to shake violently. The surrounding walls. And ceiling. They all started to fall down constantly. Rubber scatters. Let Umi Tien Yueniu and Tanjiro Seoman. It is impossible to see the enemy's attack clearly. In helpless. Yuxi Tianyuan had to take the special blow pills he carried with him. He threw it out in all directions again. However. But the prostitute Taro is different from the fallen Haim. It's extremely fast. Like lightning. Almost at the same time the explosion sounded. Then he completely dodged. Then, like a gust of wind. Once again launched a new round of offensive against Yuxi Tianyuan. I have to say. As the battle continues. Even Yuxi Tianyuan was somewhat amazed at the moment. The prostitute on the opposite side was two wolf speed. This guy holding a double knife scythe. It's like a huge mantis. And his strange sword technique. It even made Yuxi Tianyuan before this. Have never seen it. Unheard of. And what the other party releases. That weird blood sickle. Under the control of the prostitute Taro. It can be seen in a dead corner that Yuxi Tianyuan is completely invisible. Carry out a silent sneak attack and attack on him. There is nowhere to escape. Nowhere to avoid. But fortunately. Behind Yuxi Tianyuan. There was always a Tanjiro Kaoru who came to guard it. Bang bang bang. Boom 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 boom. Chapter 424, Singing the Strings. Tanjiro Shizuo waving the hero knife in his hand. Will come to you. Several blood blades blocked them all. However, in the process of the blood blade and the Hydroop knife stiffening, but Tanjiro Zaoman kept complaining in his heart. That's because the attack released by Taro. It's really too heavy. If Tanjiro Kaoru blocked all the way from the front, I'm afraid that Sun Slash in his hand, it will be broken immediately because of this. But if you dodge the side, then these blood blades, it will inevitably hit Yuxi Tianyuan behind him. This will directly end the battle. So, the Tano Rogue with Eyes 897. I can only find another way. Think of other ways to solve the current life and death crisis. If you simply fight for strength, so stability the weaker side, you will definitely lose this competition. But if you can see the flow and direction of power clearly, and change its track correctly, maybe it really works. In terms of defense, naturally, the soft breath of water is better. If you just change the force and direction, then the Hydroop knife in his hand, it probably won't break it, right? Between breathing and breathing, azure blue water flowed around Zaoman Tanjiro's sword again. And the integrated breath of water, used on defense. Then he lifted the blood blade on the blade upwards, turned directly to all directions, and the Yuxi Tianyuan behind him. At this moment, the battle with Promotaro, it has also reached the key point. Open black lens bracket sound breathing, 5th type, singing and strings close black lens bracket. With explosion attacks. Every angle from the side of the prostitute Taro exploded. However, the opponent's speed was surprisingly fast. Yuxi Tianyuan can get a killing blow every time in the past. This time, he actually made no achievements in the other party. Even if you use such a serious and noisy trick to hit you, it's completely meaningless. On the face of the prostitute Taro, a look of pride was revealed. He said provocatively, "As long as my speed is faster than your explosion, you will not be able to hurt me at all, right?" In fact, there is no need to say about the prostitute Taro. Yuxi Tianyuan also understood this in his heart. But now, in addition to dealing with the fierce attack of the prostitute Taro, and the unpredictable blood sickle of gods and ghosts, you must also avoid the sharp ribbons that come from the roof at any time. It simply made him unable to concentrate on the challenge. And Tanjiro, the effect it can play is also very limited. But even so, even if it can only help him reduce the attack a little bit, in this way, the Yuji Tianyuan, you can get from dangerous battles. Find out the hope of victory. But Yuxi Tianyuan. But I have always been paying attention to Tanjiro Sawaman's actions. Chapter 425 The Difficult Guy. Yuxi Tianyuan treats this seriously injured boy. Actually, there is not much hope. That guy. Now, it can still move. In his opinion, it's already incredible. You must know. On the shoulders of Tanjiro Kawaman. But he suffered a serious injury. Although the blood has been successfully stopped. But to deal with such a battle, it's also very reluctant. If it weren't Tanjiro. If you tie your left hand to the hilt, I'm afraid he is now. You can't even hold a knife, right? However, because of the poisoning of oneself, if Umi Tianyuan cannot get rid of the opposite prostitute Taro as soon as possible, I'm afraid the four of them are today will face the ending of annihilation. To be honest, Yuxi Tianyuan really didn't expect it. Winding land in the information. It can be so dangerous. Did you successfully kill Akaza, who was on the infinite train before, on the 3 of the winding strings? How did you get to him? Has it become so powerful? Only. It is obviously too late to say anything now. Yushi Tianyuan could only grit his teeth and hold on. Although the power and damage of sound breathing, Wu-type, jingling strings can be fully loaded. However, there are the biggest mistakes in defense. The prostitute Taro's ability to control the situation. That's amazing. How could he not see such advantages and disadvantages? So he stepped back quickly. While controlling the ribbon of the suli, the horse fleas kept disturbing each other. This is how to wait for the severe poisonous attack on Yuxi Tianyuan. And the roof at this moment. Ah, you two are all going to die for me, ugly monsters. The fallen girl waved more than a dozen ribbons. Keep attacking. My wife, Samono and Inosuke, opposite each other. Blood kept splashing out from the two of them. And now. But they had no chance to fight back. Even passive dodging. They all became a little caught off guard. Damn it, if the belt and the blood blade fly over together, what kind of attack is this? If you continue like this, you will be completely unable to get close to that earthworm girl. At this moment, even my wife. Zero. I couldn't help but complain. While Viagra Inosuke dodged. He shouted and reminded. Especially those blood blades, you must be careful, but it's very dangerous. Although I wasn't hit by it, my five senses strongly told me that even if I was injured, it would be absolutely fatal. For a moment. The situation of Yuxi Tianyuan 4 people. It became extremely critical. In this scene. They were all standing on the eagle-eyed tower in the distance. Zoro and Zoro saw it. Mr. Mihawk, do we want to take action now? Go to those guys from the ghost-killing team to help.